meeting to order for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Item on the agenda today is Mr. Lundy and his proposed building. Mr. First.
Thank you for inviting me. So, as you know, Corey Lawler is building their corporate facility on lot 10. He bought lot 10 from me. I still own lot 11. And while Corey's there with equipment and people, we thought it made some sense when he gets to the end of his project to take a look at building a spec building. I've done spec building several times. What became Current Application started out as a spec building. What became Roth Industries started out as a spec building. The original McGran building was a spec building that my dad did for the IDA in the 70s. So we have a pretty good understanding, if you're going to build a spec building, what you need to put into it: heights, docking, electrical needs, those types of things. So, we know that there's not a lot of land left in the park. This is a pretty nice site. It's 4.5 acres. A few years ago, I bought the old Bomax building, and that was a Butler building that had been built in the 70s. It was in pretty nice shape, so we bought it, we disassembled it, and I've used 2/3 of it already. I rebuilt a facility for Rick Cascanet in Carthage, and then one of my medical buildings at Washington Summit I built using it. So what we have left is just under 20,000 square feet. We would rebuild it to today's code, because obviously that building in the 70s didn't meet today's code. In fact, as of yesterday, there's a new code here in New York State that has changed a lot, including snow load. Snow load, as you know, has gone up like 25% just in a year. That's a substantial jump. So we've got to redesign the structure to meet the snow load. We're doing one thing that I didn't do on the other buildings is I'm making it taller. We're putting it up on piers 4 foot higher than normally. And that would give us room for 3 tiers of racking. So if we did get a warehousing company, typically that's about the number without getting into specialty forklifts. You go 3 tiers high. So this building would allow you to go 3 tiers high. And what I sent you, so C101 in your packet is the master plan. And the master plan is showing what a full build out could be on that property with 3 different buildings. We're going to start, if you flip to emergency 102, you see the middle section. So that's the existing building. It's 160 wide, double slope, 122 feet long. And that would be the first section we build. Now, because of zoning requirements and the one requirement in the park that you can't park forward of a building, if you look on 102, you see that the parking is a little weird. So to meet the parking requirement for zoning, we've had to add additional parking in the rear corner. That way, no parking can be in front of the building. If you go back to the master plan, you'll see that in the future, when the front addition is added, when the parking moves back up to the front, the rear is simply sub-base. It would be for the docking and tractor trailer traffic area. So there's room for, and we showed the front as if it would be an office. So there's room for about another, in theory, you could do about another 12,000 square feet in the front and another 16,000 in the rear. So all in, you're looking at 20, 30, 40, close to 50,000 feet altogether. All of the spec buildings that we've done, we found to be very successful. They were rented relatively quickly, less than a year. They weren't sitting there in limbo. What really shocked us is when we did the CWT hatchery we were looking for 10,000 square feet that we wanted to rent for a year. To take delivery of CMT, specialty equipment, as well as all their egg racks. Jay, you've been through the big egg racks. Well, all those came unassembled. So we were looking for 10,000 square feet to store all that equipment, assemble all that equipment, and then once CWT was ready, we would move it in. Couldn't find it. 10,000 square feet of good, usable industrial manufacturing or warehousing space doesn't exist in this county. I mean, you could get, there's old space like at the old James River Mill, and there's some space over in Clay, but you're talking old rundown buildings. As far as a decent, modern, 20,000 square foot building to go buy or rent, it doesn't exist. So we said, we own the building, we own the land. Corey's deep into his project. Let's go ahead and get this approved, and if all goes well with dollars and timing and whatever else we got going on, we'd like to try to build this in the spring. Now, one thing that is going to pose a little bit of an issue, Morg was able to work through it on his, but it creates a little problem for me, is we're going to end up with excess soil. And one of the conversations that I've put in your ear is that what would be ideal is you've got lot 3 across the street that the way that it is has little to no value. It sat there in limbo for forever. It's terraced, it's rock, so it's really a difficult property to build. Originally, we talked about going in and lowering the site, blasting the rock and using the rock. Well, we don't need that now because Corey's gone ahead and built. But there's enough waste soil from the site work on this that instead of lowering the lot, you'd raise the lot. And you could fill this lot and you could make it a usable lot. I just don't see somebody coming along to invest the money into either buying that lot and lowering it or buying that lot and having to buy fill it. So it's a unique opportunity to do something with that lot. And it would save us some money candidly because we simply could truck soil across the street.
How much, so?
Well, if you go down there and look, there is a mountain of material in the back, and what it was from is when CFM Foods was going to build, and they had their site contractor get the lot ready. They stripped the site and they pushed a bunch of it back up, and it's a heavy clay. It's a gravelly clay. When it's dry, it compacts great. It's awesome material. When it's wet, you walk across it, you gain 20 pounds with it sticking to your boots. It's just weird stuff. But to go in, we've got the equipment to go in and place it and compact it and do it right would make this a viable site that it certainly is not right now. But there's, we have 2 30-ton Moxies. I bet you we would be there a week or so hauling material. There's a lot of material there. And what we want to do is, as you go past the FedEx distribution center, you're coming down a hill.
Right.
So the driveway is a shared driveway, and it's done intentionally because if you put a driveway on this, you're starting to come uphill. The visibility is difficult. So when Mike LaSalle looked at this, he goes, you really need to come up with a common driveway for both, which is down near the bottom of the hill. What we want to do is we want to carve this edge right down along the rock. So we end up with a rock embankment and then do a cut and fill. This finished floor is just slightly above this finished floor. So both of them pitch to here, they go to the back, they go to the storm basin, they go to the river storm drainage is great. But by cutting that, we're going to generate quite a bit of soil. Our thought was to go to the ag park along the back and put it somewhere we don't really need it. So it's just something that's out there that if it was viable, it would be a great place to go with it.
So what do it looks like from the road, 10, 12 foot drop in spots.
Yeah.
And then if you're going parallel, then it's more of a 6 foot maybe.
You on Mike's drawing, Mike LaSalle's?
Well, I'm just looking at there's a survey.
Yeah, Mike has actually got a topo in here.
Yeah.
And there's considerable grade. If you look at the upper corner, along the road. You're at elevation 419, the finished floor is 401.
I see. So you're gonna have excess soil even filling those areas and.
And you can see where the drainage swale would go along the top. There's a little gravel road
Yeah.
that's along the top next to FedEx right now. We would put a drainage swale next to it, so any water coming off from FedEx coming down the hill gets diverted and goes to the river. Then we do the cut, fill, grade. You gotta dig out for the infiltration basin in the rear. So yeah, there's quite a little bit of
Yeah.
material that we could generate.
You've done any borings or anything to understand how much of that might be rock?
We did the old fashioned way, went in with the Traco and dug, and then I was real involved with the development of FedEx facility. That was my land. I handled all the approvals for them, and as you go this way, corporate park is weird. It's just the way that the rock is like this.
Sure.
And as you come down through here, rock is pretty consistent until you get here and it drops off and then it comes back up. And rock was plus or minus 3 feet from its elevation, depending on where you went here. Rock here is in the back. Corey was able to do the 4-foot drop for his truck bay without getting into rock. So rock is 4 to 8 feet below grade, depending on where you are. So same here, you're probably gonna be 4 to 8 feet. But when, if you're dropping 16, 17 feet, you're gonna get into some of it. We have a hammer, so, we'll just hammer or we'll blast. We just did a project in Luray. I'm building that corporate park out there, that, their business park that we've got, Tractor Supply, the first tenant. And we ended up blasting for all of our infrastructure out there. So if we had to bring the group that we used out there into here to blast that edge, wouldn't be a big deal. So I brought some of the construction plans too, because this was all site related. So phase 1 of the building, candidly, isn't very pretty. It's just a metal box.
And this is the old Bomax.
Yeah, the only thing we were able to make use of is the structure itself. So all the skins are new, the roof is new, metal standing seam, the walls are an architectural metal wall panel. We're using a new rigid insulation board that we used at the hatchery, the ceiling in there. It's called R-Seal. It's a very new product on the market. Butler brought them to us. They're an affiliated partner. And it's a very high density rigid board with a white facing on it. So it kind of takes the place of a metal deck and conventional roof. So we're able to put that over the purlins, the new standing seam on top of it. So you got a bright white hard ceiling instead of that draped insulation. In fact, I haven't dug into the new energy code, but it wouldn't surprise me if the days of the draped fiberglass insulation are going to be gone. You're just not going to be able to meet some of that energy code requirement. So if you look at the building, overhead doors on the west side, set up for docking and an at-grade access. So if we get somebody that's got some manufacturing equipment, they have a way to bring the equipment in. Metal walls on 4 sides. Planning board is like, they put something on it for now that makes it look a little bit pretty. So, we'll probably do something around. This is really a driver's office.
Which is the front view, Mike? This one with the 5 windows?
So yeah, that's what's gonna face the street for now. So we put windows in as a driver's office. It's just 2 bathrooms and a little mechanical room and an open office for now, anticipating that the office for someone would be built on. So we'll add stone or gingerbread or something on it to at least dress it up.
My only question is, in this plan, your first floor elevation is different than your total plan.
If you go to.
I see there was a modification in the,
Go to MBL's plan, the engineering plan, which.
you lowered the finished floor.
Yeah, after we submitted to the planning board, we, let's Mike came back and put together a revised plan, and it had to do with Corey's drainage.
Okay, so 401 is what your design plans will be, but we're approving this layout, but your first floor is going to be on the topo plan.
On the site grading plan.
Okay,
Yeah, that was the last version that Mike did here. A little if ours was predated that. Yeah, if you look at Michael Lascelles, goes all the way back into 2022 when we started doing planning on this. If you go on the right hand corner, look at all the dates that we started on this.
okay,
And I believe this was
June.
sooner. I can verify that, Paul.
It really doesn't make a difference. That's the only thing that jumped out at me.
Yeah, he had started working on the stormwater plan, which we have to turn into Randy Voss. And I haven't seen the plan.
So you're at the same first floor elevation as Corey's building then?
Yeah, I think the intention originally was to
That
be
looks better.
slightly higher, but it appears that he's.
How many of the spec buildings have you ended up doing an office on the front? You don't, if you get
Actually, we did it at Roth. We ended up doing it on current applications both. They ended up adding office.
I just wonder how once you find a tenant, whether or not they're gonna want the front piece built on too.
I hope so. I
Sure.
hope that's the intent, that they come to us and go, hey, we need more space, can you, and that's what happened with Roth. I don't know if you remember that whole scenario. Were you part of that?
I was here at that time. but-
So when Manford Road came in and met with us, what was really bizarre is they were originally gonna build in Montreal. And they had criteria for their building. And they had a sheet that had concentric circles on it around their market. And their market is in the northeast because of what they do. And the center of the concentric circles was almost Watertown. And so they were looking at transportation. So Don and Jim at the time were like, look, why don't you consider Watertown, your transportation is, and they took them to the spec building that we had built originally. And that was built for the trust, for the Watertown Trust. Originally, I was going to own it and lease it to the trust. And Donnie Rufford came to me like literally day one. We were mobilized on the site doing grading, and he goes, look, the trust has got a windfall of money. We would rather own it and control it than you would. We had a buyout clause. I could just buy it out. So they bought it out. We met with Manford. We brought him to that building. And Mark Purcell had used it for a little bit to do some prefabbing, but the building was less than a year old. We brought Manford there and went through the thing with him. And he goes, this is a great building. It would work fine for us. It's not big enough. How quickly can you do an addition? So we're like, we can make this thing happen inside of 6 months. And he said that would work. So we ended up doing exactly that. We did the office, we added on a big warehouse and that first phase of Roth. And he said point blank, if you hadn't had the spec building here, I wouldn't have gone through the process to build it. But because you had a building that I knew, I had a home, I had a site, I had a building, the expansion, we'll get stuff moved into the first phase. And by the time we had the expansion done, they were still moving in, so it worked out great. So yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that someone says, hey, we like the site, can you make it all 50,000 feet? Or can you add on 10,000 in the front and 2,000 in the back, whatever. I mean, we could do that. And we're pretty open-minded. If somebody wants a lease, fine. Somebody wants to own it, fine. And my agreement with the planning board is whatever the final use is, I have to go back to them for their approval. Make sure the use meets with their zoning.
Well, if you do the full build out, it's gonna be almost a mirror image of Corey's building.
When it's all done, yeah.
But we're only approving the first one. I don't have a problem with the design, layout, understanding.
Yep.
Questions?
How tall will the ceilings be in there? How high will the ceilings be?
18?
It's a 1-on-12 pitch, Jay. So we're 18 feet to the eave, and that's by setting it up on the piers, but yeah, you're looking at another 80 inches in height to the middle. So another 7 feet plus. But the front area at the eave is where your docking would be. As you get to the middle, you've got plenty of height for 3 high plus room to maneuver pallets.
So I'm looking at the aerials, Mike, of Corey's spot. Is that where the driveway will be? I've got it upside down. So Corey's building is kind of there. Is that the driveway location that's cut in there now? I'm trying to-
Yeah, I think they've got a driveway with a fence on it, and that's the location the final driveway is gonna be.
Okay. And is this the area where that fill is that's surrounded by, is that pile of dirt?
There's 2 piles. Corey's got a pile, I've got a pile in what would be the northeast corner, and then we're gonna have all the material we cut.
I would move we recommend to the full board the approval of the design for the, as shown on drawing C-103.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Yeah, second, for sure, yeah.
Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nice. Did you have a question about the lot across the street? You started touching on that with additional earth and,
Yeah, that's what I was just saying, the ideal, that's lot 3. Ideally would be, and I honestly don't care how we do it. We own it, you own it, we do a right of first refusal, just whatever. Whatever would make sense, but it's an opportunity while we're there and we have material and we have equipment to make that lot shovel ready. You know, whether it's someday when it's sold, we split the proceeds or whatever. I don't care how we do it. But boy, it would make some sense to, because there's no other lots left in the park. And it's, what, 4+ acres, something like that,
Usable? Right.
you know, so,
Is there access to that off of Route 12?
no,
I mean, or
No.
no.
it'd have to come through the park, so that'd be quite a climb. Is it?
Well, it's just like lot 2 is, when I did the building that became Penske, that was a spec building too, actually. That was a rebuild, that was Hutchinson's Boat Works building. We took it down to build their new facility and rebuilt it there and did the same thing, brought it up to code. And then the lot next to it, which we call Lot 2B, was planned for future building, but Penske wanted it for their trucks. So they both have elevations going up to it. This would be slightly lower than that, but you'd have the same thing. You'd have an incline. And if you got truck docks, you know, your elevation for your truck dock's 4 foot lower than finished floor. So, you know, we could kind of think of that as we're getting it shovel ready and set it up for trucks coming in off from Little Tree Drive into that site.
So if we were gonna come up with something good, you might
Yeah,
draw something.
yeah, absolutely. We would, and honestly, John, what we would do is we'd probably do a site plan. What can we build for a building there? How big can it be? Where's the setbacks? And think about a building there before you start doing site work.
My preference would be to sell the land and let you own it and do whatever you need to it, get us out of it. Instead of a right of first refusal or splitting it, just, that would be my preference unless I hear differently from the board.
Well, let's take a look at what it could be.
Yeah.
That's certainly a good thought.
Did you ever have it appraised as is?
We talked about it when we were
Talked
doing
about
the
it.
mining, when you suggested mining it, and we never followed through on the
No.
appraisal, I don't believe.
The worth getting an appraisal? Then at least we know.
Why don't you look and see what, you were gonna talk to Mike LaSalle, you mean, about?
No, I would actually talk to an appraiser. What it's
Yeah,
worth
right. I was
now.
talking about just a site plan.
Oh.
That somebody like Mike do that.
Yeah, honestly, Paul, I'd rather own it and control it myself. That'd be my preference too.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay. I'd be willing to pay for the appraisal.
Come back to us with a plan.
Okay.
I wouldn't do anything till we run it past the board to see what they think.
right.
but-
Talk about it, let me know, but if that makes sense, I'd be glad to go ahead and bring somebody in to do the appraisal. I've been using a guy out at Syracuse that does commercials, Herbeck Anderson.
Mhm.
He's been doing a couple things for me, and he's been fair and accurate. So I'm sure that wouldn't be a big deal to have it done, then we'd know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome. Thank you.
thanks for your time, guys.
See you, Mike.
Thank you.
Marsh, thanks for reaching
Glad you
out.
got the most use out of that Butler building too.
What's that?
Sounds like this is the last part of that Butler you're
Yeah.
gonna use, so that's nice.
Yeah.
It's a
It
good
was-
purchase. Yeah.
It worked out pretty good because I think I ended up buying it for, I think it was $2 a square foot.
Is that right?
So, and right
Yeah.
now, we just priced out a building project, and this was with roof and siding.
Got
But the
it.
Butler building was about 20,000 feet. It was a little north of $30 a square foot.
Yeah, down there. Yeah.
You know, it's really, and now with the new snow load,
Yeah.
gonna be hard to do some of them. Okay, folks, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
See you later.
Any other discussion?
No, sir.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.